okay, with the creative team of Gin Rummy, Suzanne and Julie. Suzanne is the director and writer. Julie is the producer. 16-minute film. It's about friendship. And it's a 50-year friendship. They play Jim Rummy every 50 years. We finally meet them in this film, and of course, there's a situation after this 50-year friendship. I guess that's a teaser that I would pitch about your film, about you
Good
guys.
teaser. Good job. Good job, Matthew.
Well done.
Yeah. I mean, it's really the idea is sort of founded or grounded in the concept around female relationships.
Mhm.
Um, I have a lot of friends who are older and they've had relationships with people that they've known since grammar school or high school or something like that. And this story really centers around these three friends who have known each other since college, and they have been playing cards frequently every week or every month. Is as the concept goes, it's a little bit vague on that, but it's a regular meeting where they play cards and they get together and they sort of relive their memories and they talk about their relationship and their families and really what's important to them. And I was really trying to create an atmosphere where you get a chance to peer into the lives of older women
Yeah,
and the kinds of intimate things that they talk about that they might not talk about to their family and stuff.
yeah.
So that's kind of where that's part of the origin story of that.
It's not about the Jim Rummy. That's basically, it's not about the card playing. It's about the friendship, right? So,
No, it's not. It's funny. I had a friend of mine who made a movie called Poker Night, and I thought, yeah, I can't call it another card game. I mean, it'd be too weird.
yeah,
But it's actually kind of a metaphor because gin rummy is ultimately usually played with two players
yeah,
or four players with two decks. So that's a little bit of a sneak, clue. But and then of course the other part of it is that I was going through the process of my mom had dementia, and I don't know if you're familiar with it at all, but it's sort of a extended illness in a lot of cases, and
yeah, of course, yeah,
she kind of went into these periods of time where she couldn't remember what she ate for breakfast or lunch, but she could tell you explicitly in great detail when she bought her first cat when she was like 10 years old or something.
yeah,
So it was that kind of contrast about how we remember our lives and how other people kind of reflect back to us that memory of our lives. And then at the same time, it was around November 2022 where Roe v. Wade was repealed,
mhm.
and it started really making me think about the sense of choice and our own sense of dominion around our bodies for men and women, and how do we really address that and control that. And I think that Roe v. Wade unfortunately benchmarked a rather serious change in individual rights.
100%. Yeah. So there's a lot going on in the film, which is yeah, it's nicely written. So I'm just curious before we get to the film, I'm curious how you guys met. How did you guys meet to
Oh,
collaborate on this film?
well, I'll let Julie tell a story about how we met. It's kind of great.
Yeah. Well, luckily, I hired Suzanne for a project that I was working on for an agency. So we connected, kind of in that way. And we basically immediately fell in love with each other and realized that we really wanted to continue working together. And specifically working on a project that we both were passionate about. We had done a lot of corporate work, and we were looking just for something to get into that was more creative. So Suzanne came to me with this project and said, I've written this story. I'm looking for a producer, and I was so happy to sign on for it. So, yeah, that's how we met, and we continue on our story together.
We continue to produce and direct together.
Yeah.
So she sent you the script and basically was saying this is something I'm interested in working on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she sent it to me, and it's always with these projects, the short films, it's definitely a passion project.
Yeah,
You there's not lots of money involved, and you have to take a lot of time for it. But I was so inspired by her story, and I really felt it was one that we needed to tell, and that's not told often, especially with this demographic and this particular storyline. So I was on board right away, I would say.
Okay, so this particular film, it's one location, but it's really about, it's like you gotta nail the casting. The casting has to be nailed. So I'm curious
Yeah,
about, not the, because it's you gotta find good actors in this demographic, I guess, right? Which is,
yeah, absolutely.
some could say not easy, but then I don't know, you tell me.
Well, it's funny because when I wrote it, I think it's important when you write something to not self-censor what you write, right?
Yeah.
So after I wrote it, it's only then I sort of realized, oh my God, I've got to try and find three women that are in their late 70s, early 80s that are actresses. How's that going to happen? But oddly enough, I went through a friend of ours who owns a company called Aura Casting, Taylor Lambert. He's great. And he, gave us one of those cut rates. Yeah, we've worked with him a fair bit, and he was willing to give us a solid, and turned us on to a bunch of actors, actresses. I think I probably did auditions for easily probably about 50 different women, for these 50 to 60 different women for these three parts. And one of the things about casting for this age group is when you look around, in your city, I live in San Francisco, you're in Toronto, you kind of realize that women of a certain age can really look very different. You know what I mean? Some weather differently than others. So it kind of invited an opportunity to kind of demonstrate that range a little bit, which I thought, and all those actresses are in their late 70s, early 80s. So
Oh, wow.
it was great to find them. Yeah. And they're sharp as tacks, they're super great. They did an amazing job. But yeah, it took me about um, a month and a half to cast the three leads. And we had they're all professional actresses, all SAG members. And we had some women that were a little bit better known, but, it's about the chemistry of the three of them as well. So, and I did it all through Zoom, so it kind of took a little bit of a risk, but
Yeah, because
yeah.
how did you, like, if you did it through Zoom, how did you kind of understand the chemistry between the three of them?
Well, I use instinct for the large. Are you guys getting feedback? I'm hearing feedback as long as I
Yeah.
can. Oh, you are? I can take this out. Stand by. Is that okay? Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Um, so
Go ahead.
basically, I realized who were kind of who had these long dialogue bits or these long monologues, and I looked at the fact of kind of how they were relating to the interview that in the audition that we were giving them. I also had Julie take a look at. I think it was I kind of had this group, and we narrowed it down to probably about 5 or 6, something like that, and then I had Julie kind of weigh in. And I like
It was an
to,
incredible pool of people. There was an incredible, talent that
yeah,
we had for this. So it was a hard
yeah, there
decision.
was a lot. There were a lot of women that wanted to do them, but I think for me it was really important for the women that were auditioning to feel comfortable being vulnerable, about who they were. So I'd ask them, some personal questions and try and give them a chance to sort of demonstrate who they really were in real life. I mean, I come from feature film, and I've worked with a lot of actors and actresses as a producer, and you really want to stay away from the overperformed, right? You want to
Yeah.
be able to find a way that you can get to that true, authentic sort of presentation that still works in the story. So we really looked for that, and then once we found that, I kind of threw them together in a Zoom and tried to see how that dynamic worked. And we were very lucky that it was just kind of a magical connection. They all kind of they were excited. They all loved the script, which was super flattering, and I was very gratified by the
Yeah.
fact that they could all relate to it. They felt they felt excited to present these older female friendships in a
Yeah.
story that hadn't really been told before about death and about decision making and so forth.
One would assume that they were like this is a script they've been waiting for a long time. Like I'm sure these roles don't to them very often. One would assume, right? So
Yeah, I think all of them had a similar kind of comment that you're identifying, Matthew. I mean,
yeah,
they, it's funny, you know, sometimes you can feel that a story really wants to be told, but nobody wrote it yet or something.
yeah,
And it was one of those things, it really came from the heart for me. I was really struggling with the passing of my mother's illness.
mhm,
She actually, I started writing it November 8th and she died November 25th. And we were very close and she's a lovely woman. She died at the ripe age of 96. But, you know, even through her dementia, you know, she still wanted to tell these stories about her relationships and her friendships. And they might have been, you know, decades ago and so forth. And I find that a lot of older women just don't get an audience for that, right? They don't get a chance to really talk about their lives because number one, they kind of think that no one really cares or wants to listen.
mhm.
And number two, maybe some of their friends have passed. And number three, they still really love being alive and love life. But they might be somehow grounded by a really severe illness. And I also had a friend at the time who was dying from a glioblastoma. She had a massive brain tumor and she was
Yeah,
going to perish in 6 weeks. And Cynthia Gatlin, the one who plays Jessie, has that affliction when she's in the story. And I have this whole thing that I wrote in, you know, a longer script about it, but it seemed unnecessary to really dig into that.
gotcha. And I was thinking my first thought was that you can kind of get overshadowed by a very matriarchal masculine world too, right? Like whoever you're married to, and in this generation, they're hopefully not the future generations, but they're second fiddle to their husband, right? So who's this?
Yeah. Yeah. I was trying to definitely take advantage of a female centric universe. You know, it's well, two of the women, well, all three of the women had been married, and you kind of see all different flavors of relationship and marriage, right?
Yeah.
You have um, Isabel, who was deeply in love with her husband, who died probably a few years earlier. You have Cynthia's husband, or you have Jesse's husband, who's also died years ago, and then you have Laura's husband, who sounds like a divorce, and they had a child, and so there's all kinds of different little clues about their relationships to the men in their lives. But I think what I was trying to say was, yes, we have these marriages or relationships that are pivotal to our lives, but that's not all that we are.
Yeah. Or they're not just mothers too, right? So they're more than just
Yeah.
mothers.
We're not just talking about being a mom and taking
Yeah.
care of kids, or not that there's anything diminutive about that at all, but also it's just really the fact that their earlier lives can quickly be dismissed as not being important or meaningful or valuable, when in fact they really are, because it makes them who they are on this day and in that one night.
Yeah, you really nailed it. I'm curious about the house. Where did you shoot the film?
So I live in San Francisco, and all the crew is Bay Area crew. And we did a couple of scouts, but we ultimately ended up shooting in a house in Oakland, on like the Oakland-Berkeley border. It's kind of a big Maybach sort of house. And it kind of worked great. I mean, it kind of flowed from the living room, it flowed into the dining room, which kind of was the way that the story flows, and then comes back into the living room. So it created this sort of great movement. And we have an advantage here in Northern California. We have these kind of older houses that have these really high ceilings, so I could get my lights up and everything. So yeah, it lent itself really well. And the family that allowed us to shoot in their home, another friend of ours who, you know, gave us a solid for the show, was a location scout. So that was really, really helpful. And he said, hey, I know these guys are going to be great. They love doing things for film, and we really liked them when we met them, and they were like awesome people. Yeah. And a husband and a wife. Their last name also was Popovic, which oddly is the last name of one of the actresses. And yeah, they were great. They just kind of vacated for 2 days, and they were there on the last day. I think they watched us shoot a few of the scenes, and they kind of walked away in tears. And they were really excited, so that was great.
Did you change the aesthetic a lot, like the production design of the?
No, I had a pretty good idea of how I wanted it to look. I'm a big Nancy Meyers fan. You want those sumptuous, inviting environments design. And I've worked with this woman named Michael Merriweather. She's a set designer and set dresser. She does feature stuff. She's done a lot of commercials, but she does a lot of feature work too.
Yeah.
And she's got sort of this unctuous but yet not pretentious quality about what she does. And so I really tried to create that richness through color and with her help. And also actually Julie's, I have to say, Julie has an amazing eye for design and sort of just set dressing and stuff. And it's kind of helped us, find that space where it was feeling warm and inviting and cozy, but yet not too, opulent or overwhelming.
Yeah.
Thank you. I can't take credit for that though. That was all Michael.
She did a lot. She did like 4 jobs while we were doing this.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Nancy Meyers because I was just watching Something's Gotta Give the other, just like, man, maybe like a week ago.
The best, right?
Sorry?
It's the best.
Yeah.
I mean, she's amazing.
My wife, like, that's my wife's go-to film, so I've watched it more than a few times, but basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great. I mean, but the thing about her films, I think that I really appreciate is the environment is, a big participant of the message she's trying to communicate. And if you watch,
it's thematic, it's thematic.
if you watch the colors sort of shift through her films, you realize kind of where you're going. And some of the feedback that I got from Wild Sound was that they thought that it could have been like a kind of overly dramatic or dour sort of downer sort of look, but it wasn't. It was like this really joyful sort of fun feeling, and then became warm and personal. And I was hoping that the environment and that the set would help contribute to that and really help make that a very a place where you wanted to sit and listen.
I was just gonna mention that, like, Nancy Meyers, but yeah, you're 100% right. But it still has like kind of a brown, kind of black aesthetic, whereas Nancy Meyers are like very like everything's white.
Yeah,
you don't want to spill anything in the environment that in her film. But this one is like, I don't know if it's more cozy, but it's ready for the dark nature.
Yeah.
Talk, I guess.
Yeah. There's an important transitional period where we go from the living room into the dining room, and you'll notice there's a lot of time sort of spent looking at the crystal and the glass and the light and the dishes and the food, and there's just sort of kind of setting up that little montage space there. And that's sort of our invitation to get into the more deeper conversation, if you will. Yeah,
because you can, even like in the last scene, you almost have like candles. I don't know if they're candles or like in the background, where it's like this is a deep, dark conversation that's taking place.
Yeah, and it's funny because I wrote it one way, and we shot it, and then I ended up in editorial sort of cutting it down a bit, because I felt that the goal for me was really to take you on a journey and surprise with how people respond to life's decisions. That was hopefully the goal. Yeah. And the original script sort of wrote too much of it out. You know what I mean? I kind of like over explained it, and it was like, life's not like that. People don't really deliver monologues about the end of their life. It's not like that.
Yeah.
And it's much more through their actions and how they present themselves. So hopefully
the stories they have, right?
Sorry?
The story, like on the unfortunate moments where I had to talk to people who are close to death, they just want to tell their stories. They want to tell who they are, right? Yeah.
They want to be seen.
Yeah.
And happy for their last time. But having someone there to bear witness to your existence is a great joy, and I think a wonderful pleasure when someone's rounding home plate, so to speak. I'm thinking about the LA Dodgers and
the LA Dodgers. The World Series is on right now as we're doing the podcast.
Yeah.
Well, it was 5-4 when I talked to you guys. Is it still 5-4?
Oh, I don't know. You have had my undivided attention, but I
Okay,
was just
good.
Are you
thinking
watching on
baseball.
the side, Matthew?
I briefly got distracted there. I could turn on the TV. It's right here.
Right here, right now. Yeah.
But,
No, I mean, I don't want to go off topic, but I just, everybody wants to have somebody bear witness. And I think that, a lot of times in marriages and these women in their marriages, their husbands sort of bore witness to them, but their husbands were gone,
yeah.
So their girlfriends are the ones that they're the ones that will remember them, and they're the ones who will remember who they are and why they did what they did and why their lives were meaningful and valuable. And when you kind of throw three of them together, you realize the significance of the value of friendship. I hope that I have, my friends, so I'm in that age.
No, it's interesting because it's like this is the family. This is like her family, right? So that it's like we love surrogate types of families because we a lot of them have those kind of like we don't go to our sister or brother or we go to our friend, right? So many
Not
times
always. It's your family is what you make it.
yeah.
And
We get to choose them too, right?
exactly. Yeah, no. And I think that, some of the best we have are our friendships, right? And hopefully we get them for a long time. So it's good.
I was gonna say, Julie, do you live in San Francisco as well?
I do. I'm in the Bay Area as well. Yep. We're both Bay Area locals.
Are you guys gonna work together again, you think?
Yeah.
Yes, I absolutely we can't wait for our next project.
Yeah.
So hopefully soon another one. And I was going to mention too our amazing cinematographer Jay Redman, who had so much to do with kind of all of that beautiful mood and lighting that was dark yet uplifting. We got a lot of feedback on that in the audience feedback videos, but he had so much to do with that, and I know he's our go-to person as well. We love working with him. So
yeah, he was amazing. I think I work with him on almost everything I shoot.
yeah,
and I've been to him through Julie.
Yeah.
But he's got a great film career. He just finished.
According to his IMDb, yeah, he's worked on some pretty big films. So
yeah, he just finished Food Inc. too, and but he's got a beautiful cinematic look, which I really really like, and we like to shoot the same way. I can speak to him pretty quickly. He knows exactly what I'm looking for. And
so you both have worked like in industry. You were talking about you worked in corporate. I'm sure you did commercials. So Julie, you like worked on some pretty big films yourself. How was it making how's it producing like a short where you're kind of limited by your means, so like in many ways?
Right. Yeah. Well, I've only worked on one feature film, and then for the most part, I do work more kind of in the corporate agency world. But yeah, it's a challenge with a short film. There's luckily Suzanne was able to pull in some amazing funders for us. So we did have a budget, which can be unusual for some short films, but we had to stretch it very far. So yeah, it is again a passion project. So you have to be on board to, take it to the home run. But it's worth it. I like the short films because you got to really just put a focus on it and take time to make this kind of special piece. Feature films are a whole nother beast, right? So it's an amazing opportunity to just tell a simple story. But we were really lucky with all the crew we had, and everyone involved just put in like 100% to make it happen. So we couldn't have done it without the whole team for sure.
Gotcha. So then you're working with these very talented people, but you have to negotiate with them like their rates of what one would assume, right?
It's true. Yes. We definitely had to do a little bit of negotiating, but not too much. Wouldn't you say, Suzanne? I mean, we used a lot of friends for this, to be honest.
We did. I think we put a lot of energy into the pre-production, to the point where, it was so, both of us have experience in production. So, I mean, as producers. So we really put a lot of time and energy up front so that when we got in on the day, we could shoot really efficiently and quickly. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of a key piece. And then I would also say, and we were hit with a rainstorm. Remember that, Julie? So there was a huge rainstorm, and one of our cast members wouldn't travel by plane, and she was in Los Angeles. So what was the story there?
Yeah, that was the day before the shoot when everyone's coming in. There was literally like catastrophic rainstorm. All the bridges were shut down. We couldn't get to anyone. So it was the day before was very stressful.
Yeah, it was
They went.
crazy.
What was it? An 8-hour drive from LA to San Francisco?
Well, they
So
didn't. She didn't
she took the
drive.
train, thank goodness.
Yeah,
Okay. She
she
didn't.
took the
She
train.
lives in
I
LA,
think.
but she doesn't drive.
She wouldn't drive up here.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So
Preferred the train to the airplane.
Okay.
So
yeah. And I learned another lesson about shooting with women of a certain age. You know, you kind of have to provide certain amenities to make
Sure.
their lives, you know, doable. Some of them have arthritis, and it was really raining, so that kind of brought out some pains in their fingers and toes and stuff. And it was like, oh yeah, this is like having my mom, shooting with my mom. You know, I mean, it's like, you know.
Yeah.
But it was all 100%, you know, worthwhile. I mean, it was they all really delivered on game day. I mean, they really did a great job. I thought. I was very very grateful for the work that they did.
Well, that's amazing. It's funny that you guys are in San Francisco because my brother-in-law, who's in San Francisco now on business, he just literally sent me a text like 5 minutes before I was on, and he sent me a video of there's a left-handed store. Apparently,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
left-handed. I'm
Oh.
left-handed, so apparently there's a left-handed store in San Francisco that I have to check out. So
Yeah.
we'll send you
Where
the
what?
name.
you know it? You know of it? Yeah.
I actually had not heard of that. Have you?
Okay.
I have. I've heard of it. But I think there's one in Fisherman's Wharf.
Yeah, that's
down
that. Yeah, I'm assuming he would be there. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, in Union Square. Yeah, but yeah, we got everything here. You know, just you can just shave away to the oddest little funkiest thing, and you'll find probably a store for it.
Gotcha. Gotcha. All right. Well, congratulations on the film. I'd love to see what you guys do next. And yeah, keep it going. This is like a really great film. It's important. Like these type of stories on many ways, like thematically, but also the demographic too. They're not, I'm sure these ladies are like over the moon by this experience, by, you know, making this film. And it's now they can show their family this film, their grandchildren this film. It's there forever, right? So it's amazing.
Yeah, I'm glad that they were all involved, and thanks, Matthew, for having us on.
Yeah, and one last point
I
I'll
really
make is that you
appreciate
gave them each a character. They're each multi. That's three women, three characters, 16 minutes, and you gave them each an arc, which is not easy to do, right? So
We
they're
did
not usually sometimes it's just characters serving the other character, right? So, but
that's not fun to watch, is it?
Yeah, they were so incredible.
Yeah.
They did.
They really did.
It's in the writing though, right? So
yeah.
All right, let's talk again when you guys make your next film.
All right. Thanks a lot, Matthew. Really
Thank you.
appreciate the